So Hope Ranch, California is one of the most exclusive, prestigious, beautiful communities here in Santa Barbara. For those of you who don't know Hope Ranch, there's just 773 properties on a little bit over 1,800 beautiful acres. It was once all owned by a rancher named of Thomas Hope, and in the 1920s, it was taken from ranch and farm community and subdivided into residential real estate. In this video, I want to give you the full breakdown of the pros and the cons and what it's really like to live in Hope Ranch. My name is Avi, and my team and I, the Santa Barbara Group, we love selling real estate here in our beautiful town, and Hope Ranch is one of the coolest communities. So I wanted to make this video to give you some insight, maybe answer some questions you might have about Hope Ranch. And if I don't hit your question specifically, jump into the comments, start a conversation, let me know if there's anything I can do to help. So without further ado, let's jump right in. For pro number one, I really want to talk about the landscape and the natural beauty that Hope Ranch has to offer. When you enter the gates, there's just rolling hills, open green space, homes tucked away beneath tall, mature trees. And a great thing about Hope Ranch as well, it has private beach access with stunning beach. So you can hang out, go for a surf, go for a swim. And there's all these trails and different beautiful pockets of nature. And that's one thing Hope Ranch does a really good job with, is that they keep it really clean and pristine. And it's just a very aesthetically beautiful scape. And touching off the beautiful landscape, another pro is that there's stretch of private beach right there, right along Marina Drive. There's homes that even just overlook the stunning ocean right on that beach side. And if you live in Hope Ranch, the HOA fees are currently right over $2,600 a year. And what that does is it gives you access to that private beach area, so you can take friends and family members along if you own a property in the community. And that also goes towards private security in Hope Ranch. Another pro about living in Hope Ranch is there's the La Cumbre Country Club right there. It's an additional fee to join, but the great thing about having that is you can play golf, there's community events, there's a gym, there's a restaurant, and it's really nice to have a country club located right in the middle of a community. So if you love tennis and country club activities, swimming pools, it's definitely a huge pro having that country club right there in the center of Hope Ranch. Another major pro about living in Hope Ranch is that there's a lot of horse access, and there's properties with horses on it as well. And if you love riding horses, if you're a horse person, Hope Ranch is one of the premier communities for you, at least in Santa Barbara, because you can own a horse, you can have your horse boarded on site, and you could take it for rides along trails and really do some fun natural exploration with horses. There's horse crossing areas on the streets, and when I'm ever driving through Hope Ranch, usually I'm seeing people on horseback going for an afternoon jaunt. So if horses are your thing, definitely something to consider about Hope Ranch. And if horses aren't your thing, that's all right, because there's fantastic bike trails and bike paths all along Hope Ranch. If you want to just go for a little jaunt, maybe watch the sunset over the ocean, there's awesome bike trails in Hope Ranch as well. We can't talk about Hope Ranch without talking about the amazing properties. Another huge pro about Hope Ranch is that the properties are fantastic. Oftentimes they're on an acre plus, they're super private, oftentimes they're gated with hedges. A lot of Hope Ranch properties have big pools and guest houses even. And if you want to be in Santa Barbara, but you want privacy and protection and buffer from your neighbors, if you want a big piece of property, Hope Ranch is definitely a place you should consider. And the great thing about Hope Ranch is, although it's very private and secluded, you're a very close proximity from just popping out right here where my office is on Upper State Street. And you're about 15 minutes away from downtown Santa Barbara, everything that downtown has to offer, including the Funk Zone, restaurants, beaches. So even though if you live in Hope Ranch, you're kind of tucked away and private, if you want to get to downtown for dinner reservation or go shopping or wine tasting, you're really close to being right here in the mix. So that is the pros of Hope Ranch. Let's move on to the cons. So a main con to consider is when you live in Hope Ranch, you are living with a homeowners association. That means you have to get their approval when you're doing major remodel projects. You're not allowed to Airbnb the property. You have to follow the HOA rules and regulations, which is different than if you own a single family residence that doesn't have an HOA. Just something to consider. In Hope Ranch as well, as you probably already know, the average price for real estate is pretty expensive. Even in Santa Barbara, where our average single family home price is over $2 million, in Hope Ranch, it's over double that. It's probably over $4.5 million. And if you look at the MLS right now, there's a couple properties north of $20 million that are sitting and active in Hope Ranch. So if you have a high budget, Hope Ranch is a great option for you, but definitely something to consider. It's one of the most expensive areas for property when it comes to Santa Barbara and beyond. Another con to consider is there's limited cell phone access depending on where you are in Hope Ranch. If you own a property there, you probably want a cell phone extender and a little bit of extra coverage, because sometimes when I'm driving around and showing properties in Hope Ranch, I hit a lot of dead zones. That's just something to consider if you're going to live there, is that cell phone range can sometimes be varied in different pockets. Okay, so this con kind of touches into the video I made earlier, and you can go check that one out, the pros and cons of living in Montecito. But when it comes to schools in Hope Ranch, there is Laguna Blanca. However, the kindergarten through 4th grade for Laguna Blanca is in Montecito. So if you want to send your kids to private school in Laguna Blanca, you're going to be doing some commuting where they're going to be going to the Montecito campus from pre-K to 4th grade, and then they can switch to the Hope Ranch campus, which is more local if you live in Hope Ranch. One more con is when it comes to Hope Ranch, there's a very limited availability of properties that sell and trade every year. Right now, just looking at the MLS, there's 8 properties for sale in Hope Ranch. So there's not much turnover, and there's a lot of competition when it comes to those exclusive high-end properties. Just something to consider if you're on your home search. You have to be ready to strike quick. You have to know the ins and outs of the neighborhood, because properties that are priced right and that look great and are presented well, they're going to move quickly when it comes to the Hope Ranch community. And that's why it's so important, if you're looking in Hope Ranch, to have a realtor that has access to off-market pocket listings and really knows the ins and outs of the community, who can get an offer accepted quickly. So if you have questions or want to see properties in Hope Ranch, feel free to reach out. My team and I are here to help anytime. We would love to help your search in any way we can. My name is Avi Becker, and I'm with the Santa Barbara Group, and I hope to see you on the next video. Thanks again, guys, for watching again, and have a great day.